Hello, people. You are now in tune to episode 17 of the D&D Football Factory Podcast. And today's episode is called Managerial Slaughter. We're going to go... we're going to be...
God, yeah, what is this guy now?
We're going to be going through the latest managerial changes, the possible pending ones, and overall give our opinions on everything. So we're going to be talking about Norwich sacking Daniel Farke, Xavi getting the Barca job, Conte newly taking over at Tottenham, Dean Smith getting axed at Villa. Why the hell Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still got a job? We're going to be going through it all today. And with me, obviously, I've got my partner in crime, my co-host on the D&D Footy Factory's Footy on Top show that obviously airs on a Saturday morning on Top of him. D-Man is here.
What up? What up?
What's going on?
Get started, but I'm good. I'm happy to be back on here, bro. Happy to be back.
Jeez!
Another podcast.
You good? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Family good?
Family's all good. Mrs. is good. The wife, the little boy is good. Everyone's good, man.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And we've got with us, D&D get it done, whatever the weather. And we've got with us my mentor. My mentor.
Oh, God.
a smart man who not, well, he didn't give up on Man United, but stopped investing as much money into the club as he used to because the owners make him sick.
Everything makes me sick at the moment.
And he's not the only one. We have the podcast general, yeah? The social networking
Godfather.
pro, the guard MC, yeah?
Jeez.
Yeah? We've got Stealth and Shoot the Defence in the house. Round of applause. Come down, drink
Oh,
champs.
come on.
Come down, drink champs. Round of applause. Yeah? Now we got to give you your flowers because I was just watching Drink Champs with Kanye West and I feel inspired. So we got to give you your flowers. We've got to give you your flowers, man.
Thank you very much. I do feel a bit like Kanye West recently. The mental breakdown part.
At least you've not got a trim like him, though.
But I tell you what, you've got more hair than I do. I'll tell you that for now. Jesus.
Remember, if you've got anything to say in regards to what we've discussed or any questions from what we're going to discuss, then make sure you use the hashtag DDFootyPod and get in touch with us and let us know. But we'll start with D-Man's team before we go to Stel's team. Eddie Howe is in charge now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like you getting excited watching Crystal Palace train, my timeline has been flooded with Newcastle fans excited at watching your training session because they see you're actually passing the ball and keeping it on the ground.
And of course, stood still is no good. You've got to create space. Yeah, we haven't heard or seen that in years. Yeah. Run 5 yards,
we all know the football's going to be better, but can he definitely keep you up? Look, like a lot of people have been critical. I'll let Still talk after you because obviously anyone that's listened to Shoot the Defence in the last 4 years knows he calls Eddie Howe Eddie Hype, and he's clearly not his biggest fan. But what Howe lacked in, I'm a Howe guy, right? What he lacked in regards to his defensive work and his tactical work, I think I heard he's went away to spend time with some foreign managers. I think he spent some time with Diego Simeone. If I'm not correct. Can he keep you up, D, first of all? And secondly, is it with the fact of the former Bournemouth staff at the club at the moment, will it work perfectly and he'll be able to get the best out of players he's managed before, like Matt Ritchie, Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson?
Well, first of all, if he doesn't keep us up, it's not his fault. Yeah, it's the fault of the old regime, Steve Bruce, Mike Ashley, and whatnot. But do I think he'll keep us up? Yeah, I'm actually quite confident that he will. It's going to be very, very difficult considering where we are at the moment. 19th, I think we've got like 5 points or something like that. Only 1 or 2 teams have ever done it from this position before, maybe just one, Derby. But we've got a good run of games coming up. The next three of the next 4 games are at home, and they're against teams that we should be looking to beat. I think he will keep us up. I think that the relationship that he's had with Fraser, Wilson, and Richie would put him in good stead. I know there was rumour that he fell out with Fraser at the back end of his tenure and that.
I think that was more because of the board and the contract talks, rather than a personal feud between them. So he dropped him because he wouldn't sign the new deal.
Like most Newcastle fans, like for the last 48 hours, been studying all these interviews, these training methods that he implements and stuff like that, and it's just a breath of fresh air, to be honest. And I think that will give the whole club and the players a huge boost initially. And if he can get a few results up until January, if we're to believe what's been in the press with this Emiliano coming in, I pronounced it wrong, but if he comes in, or any director of football, to acquire some good buys in January to steady the ship with some Premier League experience, I don't see why we can't do it. From the position that we're in the moment, it doesn't look impossible. It looks bad, but it's not impossible. And anything's an improvement on what has been happening for the last 10 games of the season, 11 games of the season. Not only has it been dross, but we look unfit. We don't look like we have a plan. Whereas we know that Eddie Howe is obsessive about tactics, about improving players. So I can't see how it won't be an improvement. And I believe he will keep us up. It's going to be a bumpy ride, and we all know about his defensive frailties with Bournemouth. But like you said, he's been away, and studying someone like Diego Simeone, who was one of the most defensive coaches known to man, it can't be a bad thing. It can't be a bad thing. So obviously we've got to have the likes of Wilson and St. Maximin fit for the majority of the season. And I'm sure even he should be able to tie up our back line and do something with our midfield. If he can do something with our midfield, that will help the defence as well, and help the fluidity of the team. I don't see why we can't do it.
Do you think, before I go on to Stel, he will do something like try and bring in? Might be hard, obviously, because if Bournemouth have given Scott Parker the power that he didn't have at Fulham, it might be tricky. But do you think he'll first, before he goes properly into the market to spend money, do you think he'll try to do something like getting like Jefferson Lerma from Bournemouth, one or two of the people that he brought to Bournemouth first before he tries and goes to get other people from other leagues in Europe? Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if he brings a couple people along, because I know when he first was at Bournemouth, he brought people along from through the ranks and stuff. It wouldn't surprise me if one or two faces appear. And let's be honest, those players' names are better than half the squad that we've got now. So it's still been an improvement. So it wouldn't surprise me. But the key is to get a director of football in place well before January. So we start to get a plan together, but it needs to be in place in time to start, approaching place. Because we're linked to every Tom, Dick and Harry at the moment, but I'm thinking who's making these decisions, because we ain't got a director football in place, so it's just pure speculation at the moment. I know we've got a bit of help in that, but I'm positive, I'm optimistic anyway.
Stel, do you think, as these alluded to with the director of football, do you think if they had a director of football in, that Eddie Howe still would have been the person that they picked?
It's a difficult one to say, because I think it depends on who the director of football is. Let's get it right. Football mostly is jobs for the boys. If you look at every new manager that comes in, they bring in their own backroom staff, they bring in everyone. So if there's a technical director coming in, look at Spurs, for example, Petracci that came in.
Yeah.
Obviously, they wanted Conte being the first guy, but then they got Nuno, and that obviously didn't work out the way that they wanted. But then they got Conte eventually. So slowly, that's how things work. So if Newcastle brought in a director of football before bringing in their manager, I honestly believe that a director of football would have had a say in who comes in, because they're going to want to work with someone that they know.
Yeah. So Do you think how? We're not going to go too deep into it because I know that you can slaughter. I know we all know the name of the pod, but we know that you can slaughter Eddie Howe. But you said what? It must be 2 years ago now. I think I was even on the episode. You said Eddie Howe will get the Newcastle job.
Yeah.
So first of all, can you give me first of all? Can you give me the lottery numbers for Saturday?
217.
Saturday, bro. Tomorrow.
No, but what made you think that it would be him that would get appointed? Because obviously he was still with a job at Bournemouth when you said it.
I think because of the job that he did for Bournemouth for a start, he had a very low budget. Don't forget, this was before he was signing the likes of Solanke and all these other players for big money. Don't forget, he plays a certain brand of football which I think fits into the Newcastle ideology. We saw how Kevin Keegan played a certain style of football. Okay, I'm not saying that it's like swashbuckling football, but it's good. It's easy on the eye. Yeah. All right, they take risks and they rely on very potent forwards, which Callum Wilson obviously is. So that was the first reason behind it, and I think the second reason is because of who the chairman was at the time. Because he always went for the cheaper option, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I think it would have been a cheaper option to get Eddie Howe. The one thing that would have made me think that Eddie Howe wasn't going to get the job was because of his stint at Burnley. And the reason why it didn't work out is because he was homesick. Now, I can tell you this for now. I know someone who is at Celtic. I'm not going to mention the name, but he was telling me in the summer that Eddie Howe was literally there to sign a contract at Celtic, but then he changed his mind last minute. And people tell me, oh, well, it's because of the whole backroom stuff issue. That had nothing to do with it. Eddie Howe just didn't fancy going to Celtic for whatever reason, personal or not.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that I would have said that maybe he wouldn't have taken the job because of the locality. That being said, Celtic, granted, big club, but they're not a Premier League club. And they don't have Saudi owners. There you go. So hasn't he signed till 2024? So he's going to get paid out whether they stay up, go down, whether he gets sacked or whatever. So it's a win-win situation for him. And let's be 100% honest. It's a very brave decision for him to go there, to be the first manager to be in charge under this regime. Because everyone's going to be saying, well, he's got a war chest to spend. That's not how it works. Newcastle might have about 150 million to spend in January, and I highly doubt that they're going to spunk all of that.
No way.
So that's the long answer to your question.
Yeah. So in regards to do you think he's in danger? Because the bookies are doing numerous different Eddie Howe specials. Some have even set bets where they don't think he'll last at the end of the season. Do you think there's some form of agreement in place, even if Newcastle do go down, that he will still be in a job?
Well, obviously we don't know the ins and outs of it, but when Emery was linked, there was talk of a relegation clause that Newcastle could get rid of the manager should they get relegated. I mean, some of Emery's stature would have hopeful he'd have a clause and say, if we do get relegated, I can go whenever, regardless. I don't think if the worst was to happen and we do get relegated, because Eddie Howe has experience in the Championship and promotion, I don't see why we would want to get rid of him. I think they trust him because A, you wouldn't get a big manager anyway to manage in the Championship, but B, he's probably the best guy to bring us back up. And we will spend a lot more money if we get relegated because they're not going to settle for being in the Championship for more than one season. So, no, I don't think he'll leave. I think minimum 18 months he's going to be there, minimum. But I expect him to see out most of this contract. And should he do well, they might extend it after 12 months. You never know. But I'm content with it at the moment. But I don't think he goes anywhere if we get relegated. No.
Do you think we were both listening to Talk Sport last week when varying was it Thursday, D, when various fans were ringing up and they were saying that someone like get Big Sam back in, get Wilder and whatnot. Do you look at Stel? Do you think some fans are a little disappointed because of the Emery talk? though as unrealistic as it seemed to go from Steve Bruce to a big name, do you think some of the fans are a little underwhelmed by the appointment?
Yes and no. If let's be realistic, when the takeover happened, you want to throw out all these names or whatever, but they were just fanciful names like Zidane's, Conte, them kind of people there. So when talk came of Emery, like, oh, okay, like this is an elite-ish manager who Champions League quality, gonna take on risk on Newcastle. You can't help but get excited, whether you like the style of play or nothing like that. But you know that you're taking back to the Arsenal days when they had a 22-match unbeaten run, took them to a final and stuff like that. From where we were, 19th in the table, to be linked with Emery and it would look like it was going to happen. Of course, you're going to get excited. Yeah. So when it didn't happen, there's a sense of deflation, regardless of who you're going to get. Unless you're going to get a bigger name after that, whoever you're going to get linked to after that is seen as a step down. But when you digest it, like most Newcastle fans have now, they're not going to shy away from the fact that they got excited about Emery, but Howe seemed like a better fit at this present time. Yeah. And the more Newcastle fans look into him and realize what he's done, the more excited they got, because they realize he's a step up from Steve Bruce. Yeah. And you put in perspective, like most Newcastle fans said, if you're told at the beginning of the season that we'd be taken over and Eddie Howe will be our manager, you bite a hand off. Yeah. So it's like, put it into perspective. Yes, we're excited now. They've run various polls on social media, and I think 96% have said they're happy, excited about it. Yeah. They've seen a bit about what he's about and stuff. So now it's not seen as a plan B, because they spouted all this stuff in the press that it was between him and Emery and to cover their tracks, whatever. Yeah. But I genuinely believe his interview was quite good anyway. Yeah, because of what he's about. Yes, Emery was the favourite because that was about his CV more than anything else. But if you're going to talk about relatability to the players and someone who's got experience at the bottom end of the table, there's not much better fits than Eddie, and he's going to play good football as well. Yeah,
there you go. Because everyone's concentrating on what he can't do to an extent, but you can't overlook the fact he took them from the bottom of League Two to the Premier League. And
if this was a Klopp who done that, he'd be shouting from the rafters. And if you made a movie about it, it'd be a blockbuster.
Yeah. So, and in their first season, I think it was the 15 to 16 season, they had a bag of, it was either 15 16 or 16 17. They had a bag of, it was 15 16. They had a bag of injuries, and he still kept them up so easily that the last 3 or 4 games, he switched up the team and they still finished well.
And they beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge.
I remember that.
I think it was Glenn Murray scored the winner, wasn't it? But the thing is, with the appointment, it's like, if you look at football, like the Premier League recent history, right? You had Chelsea with Abramovich came in. They had Ranieri at the time. Abramovich gave him a year, and then once that year was done, they brought in Mourinho because Mourinho just won everything. But the thing is, Chelsea were a Champions League team, so they were going to be leveling up. They weren't going to get, I don't know, like a fucking who was a low league manager. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? They weren't going to get just anyone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Man City, what they did when it was Shinawatra, it was he came in, then they had Ericsson, then Mark Hughes came in, and that's when Mansour took over, and they still gave Mark Hughes the money. He brought in Barry, brought in Tevez, he brought in Adebayor, and then when that didn't work, bang, was it Mancini that came in?
Yeah,
it was Mancini. That's when they started spending on Aguero, when Ferguson said no value in the market. They bought Silva, Yaya Toure. Newcastle are in that situation to what City were in. City weren't punching. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So Newcastle are in a similar situation. So they're not going to go in and try and bring in a stellar name for a start, because immediately the expectancy is up there.
Yeah.
So they're going to want to bring in these big names. It's like, D-Man, when you were on the show with Lee Clark, and Lee Clark said, Newcastle are going to bring in someone that's not like a massive name, but someone that can get them playing football, get the fans back on. So don't get me wrong, like that stadium can be rocking. I've been there a fair few times.
Yeah.
And they effectively are the 12th man. I know it's a cliche, but that club, definitely.
Yeah.
And they're going to want to see pretty football, aesthetically pleasing on the eye. And to be honest, while the results are important, I think the fans would rather go to a game, be entertained and say, right, we paid our money. The team gave it their all. All right, we didn't win the game, but we saw progress, right?
Yeah.
And that's what Eddie Howe's going to give you. Now, I called it Eddie Hype because certain men that are on TalkSport now were talking about this guy being the next England manager. I'm thinking, hang on, Sven-Göran Eriksson shit himself as England manager. Yeah, he was being followed everywhere.
Yeah.
The England manager's job is a poison chalice.
Yeah.
You got Capello, one of the greatest ever managers who won everything there is to win. He's managed not just like big teams, we're talking about big players.
Yeah.
Ronaldo, Beckham,
Yeah.
Baresi, Maldini, all these players.
Costa Curta.
Yeah, and
right,
he was getting pelters from the English press.
Yeah.
So how are you going to talk about Eddie Howe, who was just about kept Bournemouth in the Premier League as the next England manager? That's stupid.
Yeah,
it's absolutely stupid.
It was nonsense, yeah.
Right? But he's taken that time out. All right, he didn't. Okay, Bournemouth got relegated, but if you look at the previous years, what he did was nothing short of a fucking miracle, right? And, you know, they got that respect. He earned that respect, but he's taken time out. And obviously he's done his studies and whatnot, and he's learned more about the game. And I'll tell you this for now, when you look at that Newcastle squad, okay, from say 24-25, you're not going to say this player can get in that team or a Man City or a Liverpool. But when you look at Dubravka, he's saved them so many points over the years. Fantastic goalkeeper. Lascelles, he's gone a little bit downhill, but I think it's a confidence thing. He can be a solid defender. I think he can. I think he can. But you've got John Joe Shelvey. You know, he can play ball. Almiron is a fantastic footballer. Willock, we saw how well he did back in the last season. Sam Maximan, Callum Wilson. And these are just 4 or 5 players that, you know, and all you need is maybe 5 or 6 that can really dig it out of the mine. Newcastle have got that.
Yeah.
Don't forget also, before I forget, you can practically say there's only 2 teams left to go down now, because I think Norwich are done. And when you're talking about preparing for life in the Championship, I think the next Norwich manager, which we're obviously going to go into, is going to be the next man, because they're preparing for life in the Championship. Newcastle are like, right, we know that there's 2 more relegation places up for grabs. We're going to bring in a manager that plays good football, that can get big results. Because don't forget, he beat Chelsea away, he beat Man United at home. I'm sure he beat Liverpool at home as well. Was it 4-3?
4-3. Thanks, though.
Well, listen, fucking Stanislas scored from a corner against United, for fuck's sake. You know, come on. So what I'm saying is, like, this is like the OJ Simpson glove moment. You know, where if the glove will fit. That's what it is with Eddie Howe, and I can't see them going down. And as for the transfers, if you look at the players that are out of contract in the summer, Tarkowski, he could be a signing.
Yep.
Jesse Lingard is another one.
Yep.
There's so many other players that are possibly, you know, still like talking about signing a new deal. I don't think Eddie Howe's going to go and look for like someone like fucking Icardi or all these other players. They're going to want players who know the Premier League.
Yeah. To get them out.
Exactly. They might want 1 or 2 that have got that little bit of individual brilliance, but you're going to need 4 or 5 players that will come in and say, right, we know this league, we know what is expected of us, and we're just going to do a job. It's that simple, really. I don't think it's a bad appointment whatsoever. I think it's an intelligent, calculated one.
Yeah. So do I. So do I. Let's stay in the quagmire then, because I was actually going to go Man United, but let's stay in the quagmire while we're there. To phrase Big Sam. You've just mentioned Norwich still. They get their first win in 21 games going back to the 19-20 season, and then 3 hours later, Daniel Farke is told to fuck off, basically. Sorry, I had to do it. I had to do it, sir. But
it's not in the job anymore.
I don't get that, because if they go down, he's clearly too good a manager for the Championship. I watched them last season. They were head and shoulders, not all the time, but okay, Sheffield Wednesday, because that's Mum's team, home and away and whatnot. They were head and shoulders above most of the division. So if he's still in charge, regardless of what embarrassing things they do this season in the Premier League, they would come straight back up anyway. Frank Lampard is the bookie's favourite at the moment. And you know, sometimes there's favourites, but then they must have heard something, because the odds, I think he's 8/15 now or something like that now.
Yesterday, Darren Huckabee was the favourite.
See, it's changing by the day.
They sacked him from the academy earlier on last season, I think.
Oh, interesting.
It was 6-1 yesterday.
So in regards to that, I'll start with you on this one still. Would Lampard be a good appointment for them? Would he look at as too much of a step down from managing Chelsea and playing Champions League football?
Well, he came from Derby, didn't he? And they're practically bust now, aren't they? So, look, put it this way, he's not going to walk into Aston Villa. Let's just say that for now, right? I know that's obviously segue into another one, but, you know, I think, as I said, the next manager that comes into Norwich is going to be the one that's going to be preparing for life in the Championship. Now, this is a perfect opportunity for Lampard because he gets to see this team. He knows it's a win-win situation for him because he's on hiding to nothing for a start, yeah? So if he keeps them up, it's a miracle. If they go down, well, you know,
writing was on the wall. Wasn't it?
Exactly. But that gives him enough time to prepare for the Championship, which he's fully aware of. What would be interesting for me is who he brings in from the backroom for the backroom staff, because I know John Terry left Aston Villa beginning of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
and I think he was like their defensive coach.
Yeah.
And I was talking to the guys on our podcast last night, and I was saying, well, maybe he will go with Lampard, but they were like, well, no, he will want a job for himself. So maybe
and I don't think they get on. I don't think him and Lampard get on.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
What's happened though? They used to, you know, they were
pillars.
maybe Hollywood at Christie. No, son, no. Never mind. Leave it. I get us cancelled.
With Farker, they were doing exactly the same thing as they did when they were in the Premier League last. That's the thing that frustrated me about Norwich, because we can see that they obviously can play football. Yeah. But the thing is, they play football too much.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's the problem. He didn't solidify him defensively.
Yeah.
He was more focused on bringing the second choice Greek left back and a 20-year-old from Balk, who's pretty decent. So he's a good player. But when you're relying on Pukki to score you the goals, he's not going to get you 10, 15 Premier League goals. And you need someone to get you goals. Newcastle have got Callum Wilson that can get you those goals, but they've got Sam Maximan. When you look at Norwich, who's going to be the next guy to get 4 or 5 or even 6?
It would be Cantwell, but apparently 4K and Cantwell had a bust up.
He's out of contract. He's out of contract in the summer. Don't be surprised if he goes to Newcastle.
Exactly. Because apparently Cantwell is not been training to the best of his ability or something like that. But what, obviously, as you're saying still, is that he kept on chopping and changing the team. Like, the team they played against Liverpool on the opening day of the season is completely different to the team that was when playing, just chopping, changing. And the only person really then I can see that, okay, I see what he's doing a bit. Obviously, you've got Aaron's at right back, but Norman as well. I think Norman's on loan. He scored on the weekend when they beat Brentford. He's decent, but otherwise, just chopping, changing. You don't know your best 11, chopping and changing. I don't know how you expect the players to pick up the confidence on that, but you got the win. So I don't know what's happened that they've sacked him. It makes like, surely he'd sack more time.
Well, I honestly believe that they sacked him before the game. I think that it was because, as I was saying on the pod yesterday, so to bring that up again, when you've gone through so many games without a win and you finally win, you'd expect the manager to be on the pitch, hugging the players, punching the air, going to the crowd.
True, but the interview, you're right. And then even the interview, and it was a bit.
Yeah, so I think he knew the writing was on the wall. I think it was pretty much done before that. I think they just said to him, look, just go out. This is your last game. And just see what you can do and then just kick on from there. But, you know, I think not replacing Buendia was criminal. Yeah. Absolutely criminal.
Well, Rashika was kind of meant to be the replacement, wasn't he, for Buendia?
Let's be real, though. Let's be real. Pound for pound, Norwich are the worst team in the Premier League. When you look at the makeup of that squad, they're the worst team in the Premier League. So, to me, what did they expect? Everyone knew miracles may happen, but the moment they come up, we knew they were going to finish bottom of the Premier League. Yeah. So, if you sack this brother now, all right, you bring in Lampard, Championship experience, whatever. He didn't get Derby promoted with the Championship. In the Championship. He did a decent job at Chelsea, don't get me wrong. Yeah. That's a completely different kettle of fish with Norwich. What is the expectation? Because you're going to come up, you're going to go back down. Because, no disrespect, who's coming to Norwich? You could have Newcastle money, bro. Who is going to live in Norwich? Yeah? No one in their right mind is gonna go and play for Norwich of an elite
They
level.
want. How dare you? They want to taste Delia Smith's cooking. How dare you? Yeah.
But, and on that, if Lampard goes there, you're gonna have your manager worth more than your owner. Like, Lampard's worth 66 million, and she's worth
The thing
23.
is, like, when any team comes up to the Premier League, their remit is to, obviously to stay up, But if you look at teams like Burnley and Brighton and clubs who've been in the Premier League who aren't fancied, so to speak, they've always been difficult to beat. Yeah. Always, they'll get men behind the ball. They'll invite pressure, but they'll have enough bodies. And they will put their bodies on the line. They'll throw their bodies in front of the ball and all that kind of stuff. Daniel Farke isn't that kind of manager. But he wants
and neither is Lampard. So,
no, he's not.
Exactly, neither is Laps.
But what's to say that he hasn't learnt though, like Eddie Howe?
But he's had short. You're right still, but he's had shorter time away than Howe has. But yeah, you're right. We don't know. He might have learned. He might have got on the blower.
He did better at Chelsea without any money than he did with money.
With money, yeah, but that's because he wanted thing, didn't he? He wanted Rice more than Havertz, and the board wanted to get Havertz in.
Well,
so
be that as it may, if he does come in, I'm pretty sure he will do, as I said, like with Sean Dyche, getting men behind the ball and just relying on the counter attack. But they don't have the players to do it because, as I said, Pukki isn't quick enough. From in a sprint over 30 yards, he's not going to fucking outpace most defenders.
I'd beat him.
I'd beat him.
Is that obviously you've just said that they're pound for pound the worst team in their home, but is there any chance before we move on to the next club? Is there any chance that they could stay up?
They have a chance because they're in the league, bro. But that's about it.
Oh my god!
Nah, bro. I'll be very surprised if they don't finish rock bottom of this league. Very surprised. But again, depends who they bring in and who they can bring in January. But now I can't see it.
Oh man, right. Let's go. Let's go to Aston Villa because I was out at her first communion on Sunday, and when the news broke, you would have thought that someone had just passed. Everyone was like, Villa sacked Steve Smith. Oh my god, hands on the head like it's their club and whatnot. I'll start with you on this one, D, because a couple of weeks ago, I think it was actually in the FPL group, you were saying that, and they'd only lost, like, they've obviously 5 in a row since the Man United win, but I think it was only after, like, the second defeat or whatever. You said Dean Smith, rather. I said Steve Smith, that's a flipping basketball player. You said Dean Smith better watch himself. Why did you think that if it was only 2 defeats in a row after they just beaten Man United a couple of weeks earlier?
Because when you look at the landscape now, like, I believe that Newcastle's situation has changed the landscape of football now. Yeah, because now every club wants to get a head start on Newcastle before the inevitable happens. Yeah, and they start taking over and whatnot. Yeah. Now with Villa, the way I looked at it is that yes, they've sold Grealish, but when they brought in those players, the three or four players that they brought in, a lot of people expected them to be around 6th minimum.
Yeah, possibly better. People were talking possibly better. We know the hype around Leon Bailey, etc. Bundia hype with Arsenal and that. Yeah.
So when they started losing, my thought was, if this continues for another couple of games, the owners are going to look at this and say, nah, because I think they were very surprised at how we did in the first place. Yeah. And if you look at it now, not only do the teams want to get a head start, they want a particular type of manager. Yeah, for various reasons. So everyone wants this continental kind of manager, tactical, whatever. But also, they want a decent name that can attract players in the long run because they've got money. Villa got money to spend now. Let's be honest, they got money to spend. Now, if you're trying to attract not a superstar but a top player, Villa still have a name. Don't get me wrong. But when they say, right, who's your manager? And you see Dean Smith, yeah? But then you've got likes of Klopp, Pep, Conte, Benitez, those kind of managers. It hasn't got that same kind of pull, yeah? So I personally believe that these owners were looking for an excuse to sack him because, let's be honest, five defeats isn't the end of the world. 5 defeats in a row makes it look better. But because Villa are going that way, and in the Premier League, there's no room for error now. There's no margin for error. You need to act quickly to steady the ship, and I think that's why I thought it's not looking rosy for him. It's not look. Injuries haven't helped. Don't get me wrong. With Danny Ings, something doesn't seem right with Danny Ings again.
Yeah.
And Leon Bailey's been in and out with a couple of injuries and stuff, but it just didn't seem right to me, and I thought he could be next on the chopping block. And lo and behold, after 5 defeats in a row, after the 4th defeat, I said he's definitely getting sacked. If he loses one more game, he's getting sacked. Yeah? So no surprise to me. No surprise to me.
They did show some real fight still in the second half against Southampton. Obviously, it was too little, too late. But have the board acted too prematurely here, or as D is saying, because of the fact that I believe, obviously now Newcastle have come in, but before Newcastle's owners came in, only Man City and Chelsea apparently had more money than their owners. What are their expectations though? When they look at the other teams in the league, what is their expectations?
The thing is, right? I think they've made the decision at the right time. Because let's be 100% honest, right? Had it not been for Hawkeye not working against Sheffield United, Villa,
They would have got relegated.
You know, so he got life on that one, didn't he? And if you look at the amount of money they've spent since he's been in charge, I think it's around about 230 odd million. Okay, people will say, well, they made 100 off Jack Grealish, but you know, signing players like Wesley for 20 odd million and signing Tyrone Mings for 21 million, and a lot of his signings, while they did well, you could just see that defensively they weren't a unit anymore. And yeah, people say they beat Man United and they did this and they beat Liverpool and they did this and they did that. All right, fine. But, you know, sometimes some managers catch a break, but then afterwards that luck runs out and you see what they're really about. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad manager, but I think Villa have acted accordingly and they've done the right thing because they know it's the international break. It gives them a bit of time to look for another manager, and then January comes, and then they can do some more deals there. I don't think they panicked, but at the same time, when you lose that amount of games in a row, for me, it's not a big thing. I follow a team in Cyprus, and there have been managers who've lost 4 games in a row, and they've been sacked. There have been managers that have been sacked after 2 days. So for me, this ain't anything new. And people say, yeah, but it's the Premier League, it's a different thing. But no, it's a results industry. And when you look at the amount of players that he's brought in, especially this summer, people will say, oh, Jack Grealish, they haven't replaced him. Well, Jack Grealish wasn't the be-all and end-all of it. He signed a fantastic goalkeeper. You know, that back line, Target and Cash, I don't know what's happened to them, to be honest.
Cash has been all right, but Targ just got called up. Just got called up to the Polish squad, by the way, Matty Cash. But what the hell was Matt Target been doing?
I don't know. I didn't remember being to him the first week, and I got rid of him after that because Ashley Young came in. You know, Douglas Luiz is a brilliant midfielder, but he gets too many bookings. Ollie Watkins is hit, miss, or maybe. Danny Ings is the only shining light is Cameron Archer, and you know, don't know what's going to happen with him. He's been called up to the England under-20 squad, but is he going to get the opportunities to play? I think he should, but at the same time, you know, it's another step up. So again, if they're talking about Steven Gerrard coming in, their levels of expectation go up because he's got Rangers into the Europa League. He's won the league title in Scotland on a shoestring budget mind.
Undefeated.
A whole season unbeaten. And he knows the Premier League. So,
do you think Gerrard will work, D? Because for me, myself, I think it will either go really well. I don't think there's any in between. I think it will go really well, or it could end up being disastrous.
It's a catch-22 in it because, you know, some see as a stepping stone to Liverpool, but on the flip side, does he not want to finish the season with Rangers and see if he can bag another couple trophies?
That's what I was thinking.
But then if he does stay, he misses out on the chance of managing the Premier until he hopes Liverpool come knocking.
Yeah.
But if it does go wrong, then he's blown his chance for Liverpool. But then the same, what is Villa's measure of success? Because
this is what I'm saying.
What is a good job if Gerrard goes there? Getting him into Europa, like bagging an FA Cup. Like, I personally believe, I think he should take the role. Yeah, I think from a selfish point of view, I'd love to see him manage in the Prem, but it'd be interesting to see how he can. Because Rangers play very good football, don't we? He's got Rangers playing good, exciting football.
Yeah.
If he can transmit that to Villa and make them solid, then he will be and they'll back him financially.
Yeah.
And does he have the autonomy to bring in his players? It's all ifs and buts, but I think he'll do okay. I don't see him doing an outstanding job, because an outstanding job is breaking into the top four, and he's not going to do that at Villa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But if he can get them to a constant Europa place, around 6th place, then that will be deemed a success. It's going to be different for any manager coming to the Premier League now. The standard is so high, and expectations are so high. It's going to be tough, but I think it will be a decent appointment. I think it'll be a decent appointment. I think he can handle it as well.
I think that his style, when you watch Rangers, especially in their Europa games, they sometimes shoot out into like 2-3 goal leads and then start like letting goals in. I think his style's kind of aggressive, and I think that it might have some similarities to what Smith has done. So I think he should stay at Rangers still. I think he should stay there.
But sorry, does he make the jump from Rangers to Liverpool eventually?
I think he will. I think one day he'll be Liverpool manager, but from Rangers to Liverpool, no. I think there has to be a job in between. So this might be it. I'd prefer him to go abroad for obvious reasons, but that might be the case. But who see this? We've got the soothsayer here, the head of Shoot to Defence Media. Put out a name. We're going to give you on film just to create your Eddie Howe moment.
For the Villa job. For the Villa job.
Roberto Martinez?
No, he won't leave the Belgian job. I can find out though, but
D-Man's friend Fonseca.
No, Villa have conceded 20 goals this season.
Yeah.
I think only Newcastle and Norwich have conceded more than them, right? But they've scored 14, which is more than Leeds, Brentford, Southampton. No, Brentford have got 14 as well.
It's more than Arsenal. Arsenal scored 13.
More than Newcastle.
More than Southampton, more than Brentford. Brentford have got 13, more than Leeds. One behind Crystal Palace. So they can score goals, but it's just tightening it up at the back. So they obviously need someone to come in to do that. And the one thing that grates me the most, and Steve Ayre said it.
Did you just say Sam Allardyce?
No.
Did you say Sam Allardyce?
No. What grates me, and Steve Ayre said it more eloquently than I probably will, is that Villa have a set piece coach. And I remember the game against, was a game that Danny Ings was against Newcastle, wasn't it? The scissors.
Yeah.
Even Steve pointed out, he goes, they threw a long ball into the box, guy flicked it on, and then Danny Ings volleyed it in the back of the net. But a couple of minutes earlier, they tried exactly the same thing. But this is a tactic that teams have implemented for decades. So why do you need a set piece coach for something like that? I mean, Man United got a set piece coach and they conceded like 5 goals from set pieces in 3 games. So these new job roles are just weird. So you're going to need someone that can coach defensively, but also offensively. And I don't see why Steven Gerrard shouldn't get the job if he's interested in it. That being said, as you guys said, Rangers are in Europe. Why do you want to go from, doing relatively well at a big club? Because Rangers are huge, man.
Massive.
They're a huge club. To Aston Villa. Okay, Villa are also a big club. But in the situation that they're in right now, I don't know.
Villa, to me, Villa are in no danger of getting relegated.
Yeah.
I don't think they're not. They've got too much quality. I think they'll be fine. I don't know.
It's a bit of a dangerous thing to say, man. A bit of a dangerous thing to say. I don't know.
Too good to go down. Middlesbrough settings in the late 90s.
All it takes is one injury for that goalkeeper, and they're done.
Even he, but the standards he's set now from the last 3 months with Arsenal with 19-20 and last season. He's been a bit off to start the season. Those first couple goals against West Ham and some of the other business he's been doing, it's like he's got a hangover from Argentina's Copa America win.
Well, look, I said before that there's potentially 2 places to go down. I think you can narrow that down to 1 now, because I honestly believe that Watford are going to go. Yeah. The reason why I think Watford are going, not just because they're not good enough, they have the tendency of sacking managers, just like that. I remember one season, I think they had 4 managers, Malky Mackay and what's his name, Jokanovic and whatever. So I can't see Ranieri lasting. Yeah. So they're going to get rid of him. The Potters are just to get rid of him, and then they're going to bring in another guy, probably someone from Spain, second division team or whatever. So you can count them as a team that's going to go down, and don't have Troy Deeney to bail them out again.
They were unlucky on they were a little unlucky on Sunday, I thought. But let's go on to Stel, it's your time. This is a safe place. You can vent.
We've been recording for how long now?
We're probably only halfway through with what you're going to have to say here. We're going to Man United, and D-Man will not be present for Saturday's show, right? He's got some family business to take care of. So I'm going to let him say his piece here, and then I can obviously paraphrase on Saturday's show. But I'm going to start with Stel because it's his team. How are all these managers, and this is why it's called alphabetical sorter, getting axed left, right, and centre? And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been beaten at home by Aston Villa, who we've just spoken about, been slapped 5-0 by Liverpool, who could have got more but had mercy on them because they clearly didn't want him to get sacked, been beaten by Man City. And remember, when Moyes was in charge in the 13-14 season, the catalyst to him getting sacked were the fact he got beaten within 2 weeks, 3-0 at home by Man City and then 3-0 at home by Liverpool. Is this Ferguson having too much power? Why has Solskjaer not been sacked?
because Solskjaer is a safe bet for the owners, because he's a yes man for a start. And on top of that, when you see these action movies, when you see like a shooting scene where like a man will have a gun but he'll use a dead carcass as a shield, and that is Solskjaer is the carcass, and the Glazers are behind him. Because he's protecting them from everything, right? You see all this Glazers out. Forget the Glazers out thing. It's not going to happen. You can protest as much as you want. Yeah. These guys, you never hear from them. They never talk in the media. They're hardly ever at the stadium. They're in Florida doing whatever they're doing, fighting crocodiles or whatever the fuck they do out there, right? So that you can say what you want about them. You can tweet what you want about them. But the fact is, they're not going to leave. Okay, the only reason they'll leave is if the club isn't generating enough money. And as we've seen, the Premier League continuously renew these TV deals. Man United always have some kind of commercial partner or some new deal, so they have the pull to bring in money to appease the owners. And on top of that, people continuously renew their season tickets. So there's still revenue coming in. When that stops, that's when they'll say, right, it's not worth it. But they are. And let's be honest, right? All it takes is 1 or 2 signings. It pacifies a load of supporters and everything's rosy until there's a loss or there's a bad performance. And then it's just, it's just repeating it. When you have a child, you feed them, you put them to bed, you change their nappies, they wake up, they're hungry, you feed them, they shit, you change their nappies. It's the same sort of thing. It's the same sort of thing. So Solskjaer hasn't been sacked because originally they saw him as a long-term plan. He started off well as interim manager, went like 14, 15 games unbeaten. Then he got the job full-time. And that's when I said, in fact, beforehand, I said, you watch when United get their first loss, what's going to happen? And this is where we are. Now, I saw a stat that I think 20% of Man United's Premier League defeats at home have been under.
Yeah, that's what I was going to come to. Under Solskjaer, yeah.
Which is, I mean, that says enough. But it isn't just down to him. I said it from day dot. He's tactically inept. He's not the man for the job. He's there he's great as man management. Don't get me wrong. He's brilliant at dealing with the players. But from a tactical perspective, he's shit, right? So what you're looking at is someone from your backroom staff that can take the training sessions. Well, I look at Michael Carrick, and he's sitting there with one of these. I don't know who he's talking to.
Bluetooth headsets.
Is he playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Phone a friend every time. Is that what he's doing? You got Kieran McKenna, who I've heard should be training juniors. You got Mike Phelan, who in the last 30, 40 years of his time at Man United, the best thing he's done is wear shorts. That's
oh my God. And pop that balloon.
And pop the balloon. Yeah,
oh my God.
But it's deeper than that. You look at the technical director, who's Darren Fletcher. And Darren Fletcher, look at different clubs with technical directors, Salihamidzic at Bayern Munich, Petracci at Spurs, etc., etc. You never see them on the training field. But you've never seen them in a training kit on the pitch with the players being involved in training sessions. What is this madness? Right? But that's just like the administrators, like the coaching side. You look at someone like Richard Arnold, who was working for Saudi Telecom many years ago. And this is Man United, who are opposing the Newcastle takeover. But this is the same guy that was bringing in Saudi money since 2008, for fuck's sake. I can go on. And then it obviously doesn't help when you've got Rio Ferdinand in the media bigging up his mate, Gary Neville, who sacked about 15 managers at Salford. Man United shouldn't be sacking this particular guy. Paul Scholes is starting to say things. Roy Keane is slowly starting to say things. Even Rio, Jesus Christ, Rio Ferdinand, who was saying before, build a statue of Solskjaer. Man United are back. Now he's saying maybe it's time to pass the baton. Well,
Rio, is it the real baby?
Yeah, but Rio, is it pass the baton, or is it, well, you got to stick by it? Make your fucking mind up, like, or do you not remember things these days? I mean, you're good at forgetting stuff. But the club is a cesspit, and as I said, the owners are cowards. They're cowards because what they do, because they don't know football, they bring in people that they assume know the game, like Ed Woodward, for example, who's a fucking parasite. He's leaving, but yet they're still giving him a job as a consultant.
Yeah.
Go figure, right? And he is his mouthpiece is fucking Neil Ashton. That's another story for another time. That whole thing with the attacking his house, that didn't happen. That was just the Sun were there because Neil Ashton fucking told them that something. It's a plant. It was all anyway. But like I said, they're cowards. Because they're happy for Ed Woodward to take the flak, for Solskjaer to take the flak, they're living an easy life, and that reflects on the players. Because what happens is, and we had this with Mourinho, we had this with Van Gaal, with David Moyes, players were hiding behind everything that was happening. They weren't taking responsibility. Yeah, you might see Ander Herrera come out with a tweet, I'm sorry. Juan Mata sitting under a tree writing a poem, I'm sorry.
We'll try harder next time.
We'll try. Yeah, well, listen, that's ridiculous. And a lot of these players, they have agencies doing their social media stuff these days anyway, as we saw with Bruno Fernandes.
That's what I was just about to say. They didn't log out on Bruno. Type of nonsense.
Harry Maguire and Rodri told me this yesterday. I couldn't believe it when he told me. Then he sent me a link. Eric Bailly put up a photograph of the own goal. Yeah. Saying, I'm sorry, what is this? Like, what is this? So these players, it's not the first time. These players are hiding behind all the bullshit that's happening. So as I said, Solskjaer is like that carcass, hiding, protecting the players, the owners, his backroom staff, even Ferguson, right? This guy, right, he needs to fuck off. Honestly, he needs to stay well clear of this club, right? And the reason why I say this is because with him loitering around like this old man in an old people's home that's struggling to go find his catheter bag or go to the toilet, right? The longer he's there, the more the club suffers. Because let's not forget, had it not been for Ferguson, don't get me wrong, he brought the club immense success. But had it not been for Ferguson, when the Glazers took over, he said himself, if the deal goes through, I'm resigning. Well, if he'd stuck to his word, would the Glazers have got the money to take over the club? No, they wouldn't, because the banks would be like, fuck this. This is the greatest manager in the club's history is going because of you guys. Why can we trust you? But when we sold Ronaldo, the writing was on the wall then. That's when the alarm bells started ringing for me, because I knew the Glazers in 2005, when they took over, they're going to run the club into debt. But when they sold Ronaldo, that's when I knew that the problem was going to start. Not because they sold Ronaldo, because that was his dream to go to Real Madrid. But you cannot replace Ronaldo with Michael Owen, Gabriel Obertan, and Antonio Valencia.
Yeah.
You can't do that. But then it got worse. It snowballed. And what Solskjaer is now is what Ferguson was then. He was the carcass protecting the Glazers. You know, I remember they gave an interview with him. It was the summer City signed Silva, Aguero, and Yaya Toure. And they were asking him about transfers, and he says, well, there's no value in the market. Well, they signed Aguero for how much was it? 16 million? It was Silva for less than that, and Yaya Toure there or thereabouts. It wasn't massive money. But you're spending £7.5 million on Bebe, who a year before was playing at the Homeless World Cup, right? He joined Vitor Guimarães.
They hadn't even seen him play. It was just because Madrid turned up by him.
Right. No, but this is what I'm talking about, you know, the murky side of football. When you see who the club aligned themselves with, as in Jorge Mendes, who had Nani, who had Anderson, who had Ronaldo, you know, we were interested in Bebe. He moved to Guimarães. Guimarães offered him to PSV Eindhoven for £2.5 million. They said no. He then got Jorge Mendes, and then United are signing him for £7.5 million. Where did that money go? Because you got to pay signing on fees and agents fees, and I'm pretty sure if I'm just assuming here, so this is conjecture. There's nothing factual here, but based on what I know in the game, certain people get certain percentage cuts. Like, for example, when Sam Allardyce dropped Ravel Morrison because he asked him to join him and his agent, and Ravel Morrison said no. So what happened? He sent him out on loan to fucking QPR, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if Ferguson got a little brown envelope from the Bebe signing. It wouldn't surprise me if he got an envelope from signing various players after that, because when the Glazers took over, David Gill was still there, don't get me wrong, but Ferguson was effectively pulling all the strings. So it was down to player signings, player departures. Yep. And don't get me started on the Wayne Rooney debacle. Don't get me started on that one. So it's been a clusterfuck since, 2008 and 2009. I knew this was going to happen, right? But with the impact that social media has, everyone has an opinion. Everyone has things to say. You hear hot takes here, hot takes there. The fact is, this club is in the mud. It's in the fucking mud. And before I end this, you remember in the early 90s when Liverpool were going through a little bit of a funk? You know, they had Graham Souness, they had Roy Evans, and then Houllier came in. When Souness and Roy Evans were there, you wouldn't hear Alan Hansen saying, well, you know, you've got to give them a chance. Alan Hansen was like, no, they're not doing well. This is Liverpool. They need to level up. Yeah. Mark Lawrenson, who's a little fucking mouse, even he grew some balls and he was saying things. So why are these players at United,
why are they protecting only?
Because they have their own interests. Because Gary Neville has Hotel Football and they have an agreement with Manchester United Football Club. Because Rio Ferdinand has got his little fucking media company or whatever shit that he does, and he doesn't want to upset the powers that be. Now he's starting to slate Woodward because Woodward's going, you know, but he's still mates with him. Yeah. So they all have ulterior motives. You know, and this is where Manchester United are at the moment. As I said, it's a clusterfuck. But it isn't just Solskjaer, it's everything. And I summed up how many years worth of problems in the space of 5 minutes.
I think you've lost a few pounds there still.
No, but this is like, you know, when you're sick in your own mouth and you swallow it. Yeah? This is what I've been doing for many years. I've been repeating myself time and time again. It's regurgitating the same fucking shit time and time again. But I'm glad I was able to summarize it in one segment, because I'm tired of doing it brick by brick. I just want to build Rome in a day, and I've done it.
So. Now, D, look, if the Liverpool defeat wasn't bad enough, and that was just embarrassing, right? But some expected it. Me and you and a few others got drawn into the fact that the Man City game, that Man United might actually do something. So when we were giving our predictions, I thought, you know, actually, no. Man City are going to slap these guys, yeah, and they're going to give them a footballing lesson. I don't know how, considering what happened against Liverpool, and considering the home defeat they suffered at Villa, and just in general, though they've played this season, because their results have relied on their opponents missing chances. They've very rarely been the better team this season. How can you look at that on Saturday and think that there's a way out of it? Considering now Arsenal, who lost their first 3 games of the season, are now over Manchester United with a 0 goal difference.
Listen, like that performance there, that performance there was worse than the Liverpool one, for various reasons. Now, I think what's this like, after the 21st minute, United didn't have a shot, or they didn't have something touching it in Man City.
Man United had more shots at their own goal than at City's goal.
But also, this is how you know.
There's a word that we use in Cyprus. It's resili. It's embarrassing. Resili.
But this is how you know that Pep mocked it. Yeah. Big derby game. The man made no subs. Yeah? That shows you it was a walk in the park. First of all, I say this for time. Do not wind up Pep before a big game. Mourinho learned the hard way. Ollie's now learning the hard way. Yeah, but for you not to make a sub in a big derby means it's a walk in the park. Now, United had one shot on target, was the Ronaldo volley. Yeah, but like everyone said, it was a training session for Man City.
Yeah.
Now, for that alone, after the conceding 5 to Liverpool at home was bad enough. I'd have City come here and walk the ball around, yeah, the way they did. The man should have been gone at full time, yeah. But like Stel said, there's so many reasons why. Like, because first of all, how do they keep giving this man a new contract? I don't understand. Yeah, but you can see that he's out of his depth. Yeah, like I said, he's tactically inept. There's no identity in the team. They don't know what they're doing.
Individual moments, baby. Individual moments.
Newcastle under Steve Bruce, bro. That's what they are, bro. Yeah, because they rely on quality. The only difference is they have superstars that can bail them out, basically. Yeah. Now, I know that the problems stem from way up top, but if you take it from the pit on the pitch, you can't tell me that another manager can't come in, and have them players playing properly, like have them playing as a team. Yeah. Because once they do, they'll be dangerous. There's so much components in that. There's talk of playing Sancho, training with Sancho at right wing back now because they don't trust Wan-Bissaka.
But does that even surprise you, do you? Because when you saw the thing they did on Monday Night Football the week before last, Sancho has the most presses in their team.
Yeah. But
so what are they doing? Because so am I wrong? When Ole first took the job, I know they had what looked like an easy run of fixture because they played that Cardiff and Huddersfield and whatnot. Were Man United not pressing to a point because they were pressing so much they were getting injuries? So what's happened to that? What's happened?
The injuries started not because of the pressing, but because they brought in Mick Clegg and Michael Clegg as the strength and conditioning coaches. And United, for many years, even under Ferguson, a lot of players couldn't play a full 90 minutes. They were knackered. Because the fitness levels weren't there. So Mick Clegg came in with Michael Clegg and they battered the players in the gym. And that's when the injuries started happening. But that's normal because you've got load, volume. And then after a certain amount of time, the players start getting used to it, right? And then we didn't have that many injuries. But the thing is, as D-Man said, a better manager can come in and get so much out of these players. Just look at the ineptitude. Look at the goal against that Turkish team last season.
Oh, when they were on the halfway line.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Look at the 4-2-4 against Atalanta in the first half. Right? Look, this 5-3-2 system that he decided to play, it's almost as if he just picked it out of the blue. It worked against Spurs because Spurs were dog shit. Right? Their manager was on the way out, right? He tried it against Atalanta. It failed. Varane got injured. He went to a 4-2-3-1, got out of jail. He tried it against Liverpool. Well, it wasn't against Liverpool. It was against Man City. right? And you can't play that system against Manchester City, especially with the midfielders that he had, because what City were doing was very, very clever, right? They were getting the ball out wide as quick as possible because they knew that Fred and McTominay and Fernandes were no way near intelligent or quick enough to track the runners.
What did Fernandes do on Saturday? What did he get?
Bro, let me tell you something. Yeah? Fernandes is a very good player, but that's it. That's it. And people will tell me, yeah, well, his stats and this and that. Yeah, you can do it when there aren't any fans in the stadium and there's no pressure, right? But when you got 50, 60,000 people bombarding you, let's see how you act. For me, he's one of the most overrated players in the league at the moment. Okay, at the moment. Okay, don't get me wrong, he's bailed United out so much. However, since Ronaldo has joined, it's almost as if he's starstruck. There are some occasions where he doesn't pass to him, right? And that infuriates me. Now, I'll tell you this for now, right? And I know I'm going off on a tangent here, right? Kieran Trippier was nailed on to join us in the summer, nailed on. But then Ronaldo joined, and Diego Dallo, who was this close to joining Borussia Dortmund, he's still at the club. How does that work? Let's see who his agent is. You know, look, I'm going to let D-Man talk in just a moment. But the final thing I will say on this, right, is that there have been so many United fans over the years saying, you know, the Glazers have taken money out of the club, which is true. But they have spent money, albeit the club's money. They have spent money. There's no one can tell me now in 2021 that the Glazers have not spent money. Again, albeit the club's money.
Yeah.
Maguire, Wan-Bissaka. They signed Phil Jones to a new contract because it's cheaper to do that and sign a new defender. Varane. Luke Shaw came in for £30 million, right? Fred came in for close to 60.
Yep.
Sancho is 70 million quid, he's on the bench. Ronaldo, he's 15 million quid, but you're still spending money on his wages, however much that is, right? Cavani, he's going to be on big wages. So they have spent money. So, blimey, I forgot that he was a United player. I completely forgot that he was a United player. My goodness. Praise sorry, Jesus. You know? So the money has been spent.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a coincidence that we've been successful under two managers who play, albeit negative football, but they've got results. Van Gaal and Mourinho. And the reason why Mourinho went is because, plain and simple, he fell out with Pogba, and Ed Woodward had to make a choice. Do you keep Mourinho, who is a bit divisive and can cause you a shitstorm, but he'll win you trophies, or do you keep the cash cow, who is the Adidas poster boy? United are sponsored by our manufacturers, our Adidas. Paul Pogba, who is worth what? 20 million just in social media alone, right? Is the face of Pepsi, he's the face of this, he's the face of that. Well, you got a choice. And which one are you going to go for? You're going to keep Pogba, aren't you? And that for me, that's still a mistake. And people are going to disagree with me saying, oh, yeah, but did you see the football that Mourinho? Yes, I did see the football, but I saw the trophies as well. Yeah. I saw the trophies. It wasn't anything special, but that was progress. That's stepping stones. Yeah. I'll tell you this, if Eddie Howe wins an FA Cup, right, people are going to be like, oh, well, you know, he's a fucking miracle worker. But because of Mourinho and he spent 30 million on Bailly and this and that, some of these players Mourinho signed weren't even his signings.
Exactly.
But again, I'm done with this. D,
sorry, back to you, D. So what exactly has to happen for him to get axed?
I think he has to. If they come, it has to be something drastic. Like if they get to Christmas and they're like 9th in the league or something like that, then they'll sack him. But I've always said, I think they're gonna wait till the end of the season, wish him goodbye, and try to go for the Ajax manager. I think that's because I'm not defending Man United, the board and stuff, but I think what they don't want to be a Chelsea, and just hire and hire fire. But they want, in their rise, I think, especially with Ferguson there, they want someone who's gonna come and actually instill, either follow the principles of the old Man United.
No, stop. this rhetoric about the Man United DNA is bullshit. Because people forget that for 26 years, United didn't win the league. For 26 years, United were a cup team. This Man United DNA is bullshit.
Yeah, but the thing is, the same way Wenger introduced the Arsenal DNA to a certain extent, and that's why they're always trying to get managers to play that kind of football. I think United want someone who's gonna A, give the youth a chance, and B, like play good football and C, be successful. And they haven't got all three right yet. Don't get me wrong, I don't think they're gonna get it right for a very long time. But I think that's their excuse, because if they get rid of Solskjaer now, who do they bring in that's not like a Mourinho, because they've been burnt before in their eyes? So that's why they're not keen on Conte. Pochettino ain't a proven winner anyway. Yeah, there's no one really out there.
Zizou.
Zidane. I think it's Zidane. I think that's
you don't want it. You don't want
him. Exactly, they don't want him. So
because he's a smart man, that's why.
They talk of Brendan Rodgers. But why is that? Because he plays good football.
Brendan's favourite now.
He's built a culture at Leicester. Yeah, like they see him that he would fit the mold to a certain extent. Brendan Rodgers or the Ajax manager. But in terms of Solskjaer, he knows he's protected because, like Stel said, he's taking all the shots and he's willingly taking all the shots. The man says he enjoys being criticised. Yeah, he enjoys the negativity. He enjoys with a smile on his face. You could get he claps 5-0 and he's still smiling.
He said I thought you thought United were in the game against Liverpool until the fourth goal went in.
All the focus is on Solskjaer, the Glazers, and them not getting with murder, and they're happy like that because he's not gonna. Yes, he wanted a centre midfielder rather than Ronaldo, but he can't come to the board and say, "Get me this man, get me that one." You hold no clout, bro. You're a yes man, and they have to learn your place, and he's happy to play that position in the long run. No. Learn your place, get on the field and do your job in it, and we'll keep you in a job for a while. He's not losing, bro. He's not.
You put it this way, right? If you want to talk about his tactical side, great, because it's non-existent. But I think the defining moment was the Europa League final against Villarreal, when David De Gea was given instructions where to dive to save the penalties, and he completely ignored them. Don't forget these goalkeeping coaches. They spend hours with the analysts to study information, statistics, everything, because that's important in the game. And this guy is going on instinct. A guy that hadn't saved the penalty for like 3 years. What fucking instinct is that?
I think it was 5 or 6 at the time.
Bro, I'm telling you this for now, yeah? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, on his iPhone, on his Apple Music, in his car, he's got that Sia tune, Titanium, bulletproof, nothing to lose, fire away. That is what he's got over and over again. Because he said something interesting the other day. Gav Marcotti said it on the podcast, on his podcast on Monday. He said, Solskjaer says, with the every time he's criticised, he gets stronger. And I'm sitting there thinking, bruv, are you Optimus Prime? Have you got Energon cubes? Are they filling up? And then it's just like...
Listen, I don't understand how they can afford to keep for that much longer, knowing how further and further away they're getting away from the likes of Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool, and all the other teams are making changes to catch them. And even Arsenal, like you said, Arsenal are above them now, whatever. Spurs have made a managerial change. They're in real trouble of not making the top 4. That's a real thing. They talk about Ronaldo's going to breathe if they don't make the top 4. Wake up and smell the coffee, bro. You are in big trouble.
When Arsenal brought in Arteta, me and Rodri said, you got to give this guy a chance, because he knows ball and he knows how to get the best out of even the most, average players. And all right, while that was his first major job, you can tell that he is cut from a different cloth to a lot of the bang average managers that are there. And it's taken him time. All right, he won the cup, which gave him a stay of execution, so to speak, last season. But this season, you've seen that, granted, their signings haven't been stellar, so to speak, but he's getting the best out of them. Ben White looks absolutely a revelation. Ramsdale as well, the goalkeeper's been brilliant. I hold my hands up. I thought he was going to be a disaster, but he's been brilliant. For me, and I've been saying this to Rod, just go to Brighton and say, look, let's get Graham Potter. Let's get Graham Potter, because I'll tell you this for now. He knows how to shut up shop. He knows how to. The in-game management is brilliant. Right? He can play 3 or 4 different systems in one game, which Solskjaer can't even fucking do in one season. Right? Get this guy, and I know that the task is huge. It's a huge task, but this is a manager that's studied abroad. Okay, fair enough. You know, Solskjaer was at Mulder. Well, Potter was at Ostersund's and he did well there. You know, why not give him an opportunity? We've seen Brighton take major scalps. All right, he almost would nick the win at Anfield, for fuck's sake.
They're one of our most difficult opponents in this league. Last season, especially at the Amex, for large portions of the game, they played us off of the pitch. They played better in the draw at the Amex than they did when they beat us 1-0 at Anfield.
Yeah, someone said to me, well, you know, what about Ronaldo? If Graham Potter comes in, for example, what about Ronaldo? He's not the kind of man that will listen to manager. I'll tell you this for now. Regardless of what people say about Ronaldo, he will listen to a fucking manager, especially a manager that knows
that he's tactically astute. Because you saw him a couple of weeks ago mocking Ole.
No respect, bro. That's what
and every time Ole substitutes him, you have to explain to him why he substituted him.
This is it. Like I said, it's a cesspit. You need to clear it. You need to wipe the slate clean. You need to get rid of Ferguson. You need to get rid of the backroom stuff. You need to just start afresh and say, right, you know, get no one that's associated with a club, no one that's got any emotional ties, because that's the main problem. Because you've got a lot of fans that are very, what's the word? Romantic or romantic or whatever.
It's all romanticism.
They want someone that knows the club.
But still, you've hit it on the head to end the United bit, because we'll do our last couple before we wrap up. You've hit it on the head. People were saying things like, "Oh, God bless Ole for restoring us and all he's done for us after Mourinho and whatnot." I'm thinking, what? But Mourinho got you trophies. He hasn't. You're talking like as though he took them from the relegation zone to the Champions League. That's the way some of them all from mid-table obscurity to the Champions League. I don't understand what they're talking about.
What affiliation did Klopp have with Liverpool before joining him? What affiliation did Guardiola have at City? What affiliation did Conte have at Chelsea? Nothing. So again, it's this weird, this weird rhetoric where it's like, oh, the United way, and you've got to play with wingers, and you've got to play with this.
He's brought exciting football back, apparently.
This is the thing. Like, we need to step out of this stupid mentality. You know, all right. The Man United way is to play like with Newcastle. You play entertaining football. Fans are happy. Whatever. Well, you can get that with Potter. You can get that with a lot of managers. But Solskjaer is not the man. I'm sorry. I'm not here saying get rid of him. Whatever. I couldn't give a shit. That's how I couldn't give a shit. But if you can't sit there complain and tell me that, all right, he's a club legend, so he deserves a blight. I'm sorry. All right, thank you for what you've done as a player. You got us a Champions League by scoring a goal in the final. Thank you very much. You've had your fun. You've had your you know, you won your what are they called? You know, those bike lights that you got from the Frosties pack. You've won that. You've had your good time at United. You know, but the fact is, you spent a shit ton of money. Right? You've appointed a backroom staff that are just so incompetent. It's unbelievable. And yet you're laughing and joking after games. I remember the Everton game when we lost 4-0 and he said, heads are going to roll and there are going to be players here that are going to leave. A lot of them still here, Ollie. You signed Phil Jones on a contract extension. Anyway.
Right, let's do our last two.
The best Norwegian manager is at Omonia. He knows how to fucking win titles.
Hey, Edinburgh. There's your United DNA there still. There it is.
No, he won't go to Man United. There isn't a beach that he can walk across first thing in the morning and get heckled by old men telling him to play 4-5-1. I've heard stories, man.
Oh my days! Right, let's do hard.
Why you not play 4-5-1?
Let's do our last two and then wrap it up. Obviously, he was linked to United job, and there were rumours that he was waiting for he was waiting for United's call, which is why it took so long for him to go back go back and take Tottenham's offer. Antonio Conte getting the Tottenham job. Apparently, he was saying when they approached him in the summer, it was too much It was too close, rather. It was close proximity from him leaving Inter Milan. D, is this going to work? Like, you could already see him with that European game. You won't see me watching Europa Conference League, but I had to watch Tottenham's game. They started off, they went 3-0 up. I changed the channel to watch Leicester and Spartak Moscow. And when I turned it back, it was 3-2. Like, there's a lot of work to do there defensively. And then they've drawn 0-0. Is it going to work? Some people think he'll be gone in 18 months. Is it? Can this work, this relationship?
First of all, let me just this thing about too soon after Inter, yeah, is nonsense. Yeah, the money wasn't right at the time. Yeah, now the money's right. Yeah, I'm good to go. Yeah, will it work? Personally, nah, it's not gonna work. Yeah, he's talking about, oh, I've been assured that they're gonna give me money. I'm going to make the decisions of who I want. They're gonna give me money to spend, bruv. They told Harry Kane he could leave, yeah, if the money was right. Yeah, I went back on that gentleman's agreement. Don't get me wrong, Conte's not stupid. He would have gone there and said, you know what, I'm only coming under these conditions. Yeah, and Levy would have said yes, that's fine. But when push comes to shove, I think they'll give him a little bit of money initially.
Yeah.
But come next summer, let's see if he really gets the big boy money to spend. Yeah, because let's be honest, that squad needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not like back in the day when we used to say that Spurs are the best first 11 in the country.
Yeah. Most balanced on the pitch. Yeah.
You got to sort out the Harry Kane conundrum at the moment. This man is down tools like no other. Bro. Yeah, his head ain't right, and I don't even think the Conte acquisition is going to convince him. He still wants out. The problem is who's going to buy him. Yeah, so he might as well just suck it up and start playing. Yeah. Their defense is shocking, but don't get me wrong. I think that's his main concern. He will sort out defense first. But the problem is, as good as he may make Spurs, can you really see him challenging Man City, Liverpool, and Chelsea in the next 2 years? No. So, success-wise, what, top 4? Yes, he could get top 4 this season because Man United are so bad. Yeah, and West Ham, I don't think their squad's big enough to cope in the long run.
Yeah,
but he could get a cup this season and a top 4. But Conte wants the league. He wants Champions League. Is he gonna get at Spurs? Not a chance. Not a chance. And I don't think he will be there more than 2 years. I honestly don't believe he'll be more than 2 years. I think this 18-month business, he probably will see it out. But you don't think he's going to clash with Daniel Levy in the long run? Nah. A leopard never changes his spots. He's cut him. Because he's definitely not going to be there in the long term. Spurs, Conte, Spurs. No disrespect to Spurs, but man's managed Chelsea, Inter Milan, Juve, Spurs. It's not happening. It's not happening. And Spurs ain't winning no title. They're not winning. They might win the FA Cup or League Cup. They're not winning no Champions League. They're not winning no league. So for me, if he doesn't get any of those, it's not a success. So it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Still, is it going to be another case where Conte throws his toys out the pram, or do you think there's going to be a form of appeasement, and that is why he took the job, because there's an agreement in place?
Mate, Daniel Levy is one of the most difficult people to deal with on and off the field, right? You know, we've seen it on numerous occasions where he's fallen out with managers, and you know he's hired and fired. Remember that season they brought in the Spanish fella, that one. What's his name? It was at Sevilla.
Juan de Ramos.
Yeah. And then they were signing Hutton and all these other players. And again, signings that you're thinking these aren't Juan de Ramos' signings. Look, Mourinho went to Spurs, and when he got the job, I thought, they're serious, because while Pochettino left them in the lurch, Dele Alli was still a player. Harry Kane was still scoring goals. Son was still banging in. Like you could see that he could work with it, but then obviously results didn't go their way because it is Spurs. It's Spurs, right? You got Antonio Conte, right, he's probably worse than Mourinho when it comes to a temperament. right? Mourinho is like, he's pretty chilled in comparison.
Yeah.
You know, and while Mourinho is very passive aggressive in his interviews, Conte is an utter lunatic, right? He's a tactical genius, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but he's a fucking loon, right? This is the guy that was texting Diego Costa saying,
I was just about to make a joke and say, is he going to text Dele Alli? But you've beat me to it.
But this is it. So when you have someone like Daniel Levy, who, let's be honest, he's more focused on getting Little Mix to fucking play at White Hart Lane than he is to see Spurs. Well, that was what he was saying about the COVID situation, wasn't it? They was mostly talking about the stadium and the impact that the lack of fans in the stadium, the lack of events, all that kind of stuff. You got NFL, you've got concerts, you've got whatever, you know, Jingle Bell Ball, whatever you fucking want to call it, you know. They couldn't do it because of COVID. Now they've got the fans back. Obviously, he's like, lovely, brilliant, make more money, bring more events in. Okay, Spurs are important to him, don't get me wrong, but they are effectively, they're like landlords more than, they're more like, what's the word? They're renting the stadium, if you think about it, really, because they're playing once every 2 weeks, whereas, you know, Ed Sheeran can play there, and Stormzy can play there, and that one can play there, you know? But with Conte is going to want a lot of money, and not just to build his squad, but because of the shit that Spurs have got there, you know? Davinson Sanchez, terrible. Eric Dyer, well, the you know, it's in the surname, isn't it? Right? No, I'm telling you like it is, mate, because he's terrible. He's fucking terrible. Ben Davis, the left back, right? Region, what's happened to him? Is he injured? What's happened to him?
No, he played the other day. He played.
He's Spursy now. He's Spursy
right. Doherty. Well, where is he?
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's
probably still alive.
Controlling Arsenal Twitter at the moment. You know? And Ndombele shows signs that he's got natural ability, but it's again hit, miss, or maybe. Dele Alli, I don't know what's going on with him. Then you got Winks, Skip. What can Conte do with that? What can he do with that? Can Spurs sell these players? Because he's going to want to get rid of a lot of players, but then he's going to want to bring in a lot of players. And when to play the Conte way, you need to have ball players. Players that are comfortable on the ball. Yeah. Out of that Tottenham's best 11, you could probably say Romeo's good on the ball, but he's a fucking lunatic. You could say that Højbjerg is good on the ball, but he's good for a yellow card. Kane and Son. Mora at a push. Lo Celso, I don't know what's happened to him.
And Ndombele.
Right? Yeah. So if you're going to be playing out from the back, which is the videos that we've seen into Milan over the years, can you imagine Spurs trying that with this crop of players? Right? So what Conte is going to do, he's going to batter the players in training. Some of them are going to down tools because they don't like his training. Some of them are going to get pissed off because he's changed their diet. Some of them are going to get pissed off because of the things that he says in the media. Some of them are going to get pissed off because, you know, he's gone to Daniel Levy and said, look, this player's shit. I want that player from wherever. And it's probably going to go up in flames. That being said, because he's so good at as a tactician, he's probably seen that first training session. He goes, right, he'll do well for me, but in a certain system. He'll do well for me, but in a certain system. So it's about getting the system right. He can't play three at the back with this Spurs team. I'm sorry. But what I will say, Tottenham's main problem for many, many years has been the inability to keep clean sheets. And he got that at the weekend, which is a start. Yeah. But 18 months, I think, again, same with Eddie Howe, it's win-win for the manager because he doesn't do well. His reputation remains intact because it's a poison chalice. And because of the person that's in charge at Spurs. So it could work both ways, but I'm probably going to end up falling on my sword on this, but I don't think it's going to end well. I don't think. That's my honest opinion. But, you know, I'm not always right 99% of the time.
Cool. Right, our last one then, and then we'll wrap it up. D, it's your time. Sergi had the Barca job as interim, whatever, caretaker for one game, and Xavi is here. Apparently, Barca have had the funds to pay his clause, so allegedly he paid part of the clause to get the deal over the line. He's been talking a good game in the press conferences. Is this going to be a success? Are they going to wait with him and give him more leverage than Koeman did because he is a club legend and one of the greatest midfielders of all time? Or It's going to end in tears.
No, they're definitely going to give him leverage. They're going to give him time because they realise that squad is not good enough. The only promising thing about that squad is the youth that's coming through. Pedri, Gavi and Fati. I'm sure he'll promote a few others to the team. He will get them playing a lot better brand of football than Dross under Koeman. The first thing, he's going to get rid of half those Dutch players as well, let's be honest. But you never know the truth about Barca's financial situation, so I don't know how much they're going to spend. I mean, they're talking about renewing Dembele's contract. Wonderful player, but he can't stay fit. 605 days he spent injured or something like that in his Barca tenure.
Jesus Christ.
But I do like the way he could tell he's trying to implement the principles that he learned under Pep. So he's taking no nonsense whatsoever, bringing it back to the basics, the Barca way, the Barca fundamentals, and on and off the pitch and stuff like that. He's got a big job in his hands. He's not going to be as successful as Pep Guardiola, let's be honest. No Barca manager has been. But my thing is, can he get them back up to a Champions League spot this season? Because it's going to be a tough ask now. And also how he manages the Champions League campaign from here on out. I think that's going to be interesting as well.
Yeah.
But overall, I think he will be successful. And by successful, I mean he will eventually bag a league title. I genuinely believe he can. Let's be honest, La Liga's not, the standard's not very good at the moment anyway. Even Atletico don't look like that Atletico at the moment, kind of thing. So, yes, he will. I believe he will be a success, but it's going to be a lot harder than when Pep was there. There's no Messi, there's no one like of that ilk at the moment. I know they're banking a lot of hope on Fati, but what's helping him is that he's got a lot of the old guard helping him out in the back rooms. You've got Danny Alves and advisory role. I think Puyol as well, and I think somebody else as well. I can't remember who it was, but he'll do okay. I'm happy that he's there. I think his time in, is it Qatar that is in?
Al-Sadd, yeah.
Winning about 1 million trophies over there, kind of thing. I think that's put him in good stead just to ease him in a little bit. He knows Barcelona, obviously. He knows what's expected. He was my choice to take over. So I think he'll do all right.
We know the style of football still because we've all seen bits and pieces of Al-Sadd and the tiki-taka that he incorporated there quite quickly. But is it as simple as the fact that because they've got a few really good youngsters who, look, let's be honest, in 5, 6, 7 years' time could be competing, they could be Ballon d'Or winners, right? Is it as simple as that if he gets some experience and stabilises that they will go back? Or realistically, from what I've seen this season, Real Sociedad don't really look like they're going to concede a goal at the moment. They're like a lot like Chelsea. Betis, decent. Sevilla are decent. As Dee's saying, can he get them in the top 4? Is that going to be a tough ask for this season considering the state that they're in?
Well, they blew a 3-goal lead at the weekend, didn't they?
Yeah, against Celta Vigo.
So he's going to have to sort them out defensively for a start, which is massive. I don't know, is Lenglet still there? Because he's that's a tripe. Who's the other one? They've
been playing. They've got a Rajo there, Minguiza. They don't even play him. TT.
Well, yeah, him easy. Jesus.
There you go. Newcastle, get on the case, man.
Oh God, no!
Get on the case, man.
We're too busy focusing on
the team. Just sign Basson.
Get him, TT. That's how you start off. You get the people that are being outcasted at the bigger clubs. That's how you get, and then you get the big names in.
I think strategically, this is a very, very clever move from Barcelona because not only did they bring back one of their sons, because Xavi came from Qatar, and I think they had Qatar Airways as a sponsor.
They did indeed.
It wouldn't surprise me if there's some kind of agreement whereby Barcelona play Al-Sadd in some friendlies, much like the WWE do with Saudi Arabia. Every year they go there to do an event. It wouldn't surprise me if Barcelona have some kind of agreement with Al-Sadd, and it leads to a cash injection one way, because I know it's still fan-owned, isn't it, in some way, shape or form. They've got the 51-49 rule or model, as they say, with Laporta there. But I think Laporte learned his lesson from the last time he was at the club. And don't forget, he's the guy that brought in Ronaldinho. So, he's got a lot of experience and he knows the club inside out. So they're doing what Man United should be doing. If you're going to bring in someone that knows the club, you bring in someone who's not toxic. You bring in someone that, knows the values, but is going to do things their way. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to just listen to someone in the background saying, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. Xavi's going to do things his way. They play a certain style of football. That's how it's going to become. And that's how it should be because they need it right now. The fans need it. The club sure as hell fucking need it. And La Liga need it.
They've been like, some of the games I've watched have been horrible. I watched them against, was it Osasuna? And they put like the most crosses ever by a Barcelona team into the box and whatnot. I thought I was watching Burnley. It was hideous. And so
the 7 people that Xavi has brought in as his backroom staff, he's known them since he was like, well, I know he's this tall, but since he was a kid. So these are people that he trusts. As I said, they're not people that he's just met off the street or So the philosophy is there. But again, the financial restrictions has hurt them. But this is Barcelona we're talking about. And look, in Spain, I seem to remember a time when Barcelona weren't winning European Cups. I mean, the first time I remember them winning it was in '92 when Koeman scored the winner against Sampdoria. But Barcelona were never winning European Cups then. Right? It was always Real Madrid. And they're still living in their shadow, kind of. But as I said, they've got the right man in for the job. He commands respect straight away because of who he is, because of the longevity and the lineage that he's had. He hasn't just, he wasn't one of those players that signed and then he spent 5 or 6 years at the club. No, he was there from day dot. And he won everything there is to win with arguably the greatest team ever. So he's got that there and he's got that credit in the bank already. But as D-Man said, he's doing things his way. And if his way or no way. And don't be surprised if Barcelona, maybe in a year's time, year and a half, you hear a bumper deal with Qatar money coming in, especially after the World Cup. And then we start talking about FFP like we're doing with Paris Saint-Germain.
Excellent. So we'll leave it there. Episode 17, Managerial Slaughter. Let's leave those socials and then wrap it up. Stel, you first, homie.
Okay, then. I'm only going to promote one. Go on YouTube and type in No Choftes. Or just type in OLB.
No Choftes.
There you'll find the greatest podcast in the world. Because while some podcasts talk about, certain things that can't even pronounce Atletico Madrid, we have World Cup winners on. World Cup winners. Players that have lifted the Coupe du Monde.
Thomas Berthold.
That have played against the likes of Maradona. Have worn his shirt, swapped shirts with him. Hot takes. They're dead. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, boys. It's been emotional.
It's a safe place, man. It's a safe place. We all used to watch The Sopranos. You get what I'm saying? It's a safe place, baby. Right.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, boys. I mean, you lot just need to keep doing what you're doing because there's a lot of tripe out there at the moment, and you guys seem to be carrying the baton for the good stuff, so to speak. So just keep it down, boys.
Appreciate it, bro.
Not the hot takes crew. OB Trash, real name, no gimmicks.
Jesus Christ. Shoot me now. I'm getting told for this shit, man.
Social. First of all, if this is going on YouTube, check out the YouTube channel, Dubul Dee can promote after, but like, comment and subscribe, all of that. Follow at D&D Football Factory _ on the Twitter. My Twitter handle is at illphenomenal25. That's phenomenal spelled with an F. And if you can't spell it, you can't follow me. So, yeah.
You heard the great man. Our usuals, our weekly slot, regular slot is on Top FM, 95.5 FM in London. You're best off listening to it on the Tune In Radio app or the Simple Radio app, and we air at 10 a.m. on every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. until midday. Dee's just giving you the normal page. We've also got the podcast page at D&D Footy Pod, and you can catch any previous podcasts on our SoundCloud, which is the D&D Football Factory. We are also, our Instagram is D&D Footy Factory _ as well. My personal handles is at Dubul Dee, that's DUBULDEE. As you can see if you're watching on just on YouTube on all platforms. And yeah, that's it. That is a wrap for episode 17, Managerial Sort. Big thanks to Stel. We are our people. Thank you very much.
Peace.